Hello, my friends. Hello, it's Matthew Street. Welcome to my channel. As always, I truly appreciate you being here. And folks, this is a first on the Matthew Street channel. Well, after almost, how many years have I done this channel? Going on 6 years, this month sometime. But this is the first time I've done something like this, where a commenter makes a comment where they ask me a question, and I actually do a video to respond to that question rather than just answering it on in the comment section. And it was from my friend Tom, Mr. Beatlespro. How many of you out there know Mr. Beatlespro? I will put the link to his channel below because he's got a great Beatles-centric channel, which I love so much. One of my favorites. Please subscribe to Tom at Mr. Beatlespro. Tom's a great guy, too. Just has a good way about him when he does his videos. And he asked me a question on one of my most recent videos where I did Listen with Matt, and I danced and bopped around to one of my favorite power pop songs of all time, Rock You Up by the Romantics. And as you know, the Romantics, this isn't a Romantics tutorial or anything. I've done videos about the Romantics before. Maybe I'll put the link to my last Romantics video in the narrative below, along with Tom's link to his channel. But you know the Romantics. If you're a fan of good rock and roll, you should be. And if you're not, you don't know what you're missing. First album, The Romantics, all right, came out in Nempera Records, which is, I believe it's a subsidiary of Epic or something, Nempera. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I didn't look that up. But their first album, What I Like About You, famous song. Their second album, National Breakout. I love every Romantics album except for one that is a little bit sketchy for me, but I do love some of the songs on it, which I'll talk about. But I love the second album, National Breakout. I love the third album. This is kind of like their heavy metal album, National Strictly Personal, which came out in let's see, so we had, let me back up a minute. So this one came out late 79, early 80. Okay. Then we have 1980, going into 81, I believe. Early 81, correct me if I'm wrong. Strictly Personal, their third album, their heavy metal album, so to speak. 1981, I want to say on this one. And then their biggest commercial smash hit of all time, the album which Rock You Up is on, and Talking in Your Sleep, is In Heat from 1983. And then this is the album, their last one on Nempera or Epic, subsidiary, whatever, you can tell me. And it's called Rhythm Romance. Now, by this time, popular drummer and part-time lead singer Jimmy Marinos sang lead as Wally Palmer. Wally Palmer sang lead vocals, and so did drummer Jimmy Marinos. And this combination, they were hot. But Jimmy leaves the band after In Heat. Their biggest commercial success. You can read up why and what all went down, but he leaves the band, and nothing against this guy, but David Petratos came in on drums, and I'm sorry, it just wasn't the same. The chemistry wasn't there. And this album, Rhythm Romance, came out in 1985. It was their last major label release, and it didn't do well. It had a couple of minor top 40 hits on it, like Test of Time and Mystified. I believe both made the top 40, but the glory years were fading, especially after Jimmy left. They tried. But there is some great material on this album. The first song, Let's Get Started, is one of my favorites, and I just love having it for posterity. And then there's so many best ofs you could get over the years. I mean, I have this one. I'm sure you've all seen this one in cut up bargain bins, $5 bins and stuff, but does have all the big hits on it, so you can get that. They did come back, not for a full album, but in 1993 they came back and did an EP called Made in Detroit, which was very good. I enjoy this. It's only got like 4 or 5 songs on it. They've 5 songs. It's like half an album. And it's good. It's really good. 1993. Then they go 10 years, and it wasn't until 2003 where they put out a real fine album, a much better album than Rhythm Romance, and a much better follow-up to In Heat, is 6149. Came out in 2003, And it is a great, great album. Their top 40 days were behind them, but it did well on like Little Steven's Underground Garage on Sirius XM plays tracks from this all the time. And you can get many live albums too. I happen to have King Biscuit Flower Hour live during their peak on the In Heat tour. Highly recommended if you want to hear some really rockin' live romantics. Well, then there was this album, or this 12-incher behind me when I was doing my recent romantics video, and Tom, Mr. Beatlespro, said, "Matt, what's that yellow one behind your head?" I guess he'd never seen it before. "What is it? What is that thing, you bugger?" He didn't say that. He was more, what is that behind your head? But anyway, this is on Bomb Records. B-O-M-B. Okay? Bomb. And I had to do a little research on it for Tom to find out exactly what this is and how I had it. Basically, this is a Canadian EP. All right? It has 4 songs on it, and all 4 songs were recorded long before their first album in late 79, early 80. This came out in like early part of 79, well over a year and a half before the first album. And it's basically got 4 songs on it. 2 of them ended up on the first album, Tell It to Carrie and First in Line. They were on the first album, but completely re-recorded. So these are completely different versions of those 2 songs. And then you get 2 other songs, which were never, as far as I know, on any Romantics album, okay, which is Let's Swing and Running Away. Very plain in the back, produced by Bob Segarini, and there is some French writing down here from Bomb Records. So this is definitely a Canadian-only EP of those early songs. Came out, like I said, well over a year before the first album. Now, give you a little of the background, is that the Romantics formed on Valentine's Day, of all days, in 1977. Well, I should say their first public appearance was on Valentine's Day, 77, in Detroit at a club. And then it was about a year or so later that they put out their first single on Bomp, B-O-M-P Records. It was Tell It to Carrie and First in Line, which are both on here. These recordings were the first single on Bomp Records. U.S. single, 7-inch single, 45, 1978. Well, this came out like early 79 or something. This was like months later. The Canadian audience received this with those 2 songs plus the 2 other additional songs. So that's what this is, Tom, if you were wondering. And you can still get this. You got to search for it a little bit and hunt, but you can find it. And it sounds fantastic because it's early raw romantics recorded well before even the first album. It's great. Now, later, I should say their real first, though, recording that came out was I Can't Tell You Anything, and the song Little White Lies came out as a single in 1977 on Spider Records, which was, I believe, just an independent label that they hooked up with in Detroit. They eventually got on Bomp Records, and they had the Tell It to Carrie First in Line released in 78 that are on here. But when it was released here in Canada, for some reason, it couldn't be called Bomp Records, which doesn't make sense, so they called it Bomb Records, as I mentioned earlier. So go figure. So Tom, that's it. I know I took almost 9 minutes to make that explanation to you, but it's a great EP to have. It rocks. It's awesome. And that's it, folks. I just want to say hi to Tom and all of you that are Romantics fans. Get yourself into some Romantics. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised how good and how rocking they truly are. Bye-bye.